This is a true story. Before we begin, I recommend putting on your headphones and listening carefully. Tonight's story is unsettling, mysterious, and completely real. So turn off the lights, get comfortable, and experience this story with me. It started with a small noise. At first, nobody in the Miller family thought much about it. Just a quiet, scratching sound coming from somewhere inside the walls of their house. But within a few weeks, that small noise would lead to one of the strangest discoveries the police in Ohio had ever seen. And the most terrifying part, someone had been watching them the entire time. In the fall of 2011, the Miller family moved into a modest 2-story house in a quiet neighborhood in Dayton, Ohio. It wasn't a big house, but it was perfect for them. Michael and Laura Miller had been searching for months, and when they found this place, it seemed ideal for raising their 2 young children. The neighborhood was calm, the neighbors were friendly, and the house had just enough space for everyone. At first, everything felt normal. The first few weeks passed peacefully. But then Laura began noticing something strange. Late at night, when the house was quiet, she started hearing faint noises, soft sounds, almost like movement. At first, she assumed it was the house settling. Old houses often make strange noises. Michael thought the same thing, but the sounds kept happening, and they always came from the same place. The walls. Sometimes it sounded like something sliding slowly. Other times it was more like gentle tapping. And sometimes it almost sounded like footsteps. But the strangest part was the timing. The noises only happened late at night, usually after midnight. A few weeks later, something even stranger happened. Laura noticed that small items in the kitchen were being moved. Nothing major, just small things. A spoon left on the counter, a chair slightly out of place, a cabinet door open. At first, she assumed it was the kids, but both children insisted they hadn't touched anything. Michael believed there had to be a simple explanation. Maybe someone forgot to close something. Maybe the kids were playing a prank, but Laura wasn't convinced. She had a feeling something wasn't right. One night around 2 a.m, Laura woke up suddenly. She heard something, a slow, dragging sound. It was louder than before, and it sounded very close, almost like it was inside the wall next to the bedroom. She woke Michael up. They both sat quietly in the dark, listening, and then they heard it again. A slow movement, like someone shifting their weight. Michael got up and turned on the lights. The noise stopped immediately. The house was silent again, but now they were both unsettled. The next day, Michael decided to check the attic. He assumed maybe an animal had gotten inside. Raccoons or squirrels sometimes find their way into houses. He grabbed a flashlight and climbed up. The attic was dusty and quiet. Nothing unusual. No animals, no signs of damage. Everything seemed completely normal. So they tried to forget about it, but the noises didn't stop. In fact, they became more frequent. About a month later, Laura noticed something very disturbing. Some of their food was missing. Not a lot, just small amounts. Bread, fruit, snacks. At first, she thought the kids were sneaking food at night. But when she asked them, they looked confused. They said they hadn't taken anything. Michael checked the refrigerator, and that's when he noticed something strange. One of the shelves had been moved slightly, almost as if someone had taken it out and put it back. That's when he started feeling uneasy, because suddenly the noises, the moved objects, and the missing food all started to connect. Michael decided it was time to call the police. 2 officers arrived that evening. At first, they assumed it was probably an animal inside the walls, but they agreed to take a look. They searched the house carefully. Everything looked normal until one officer noticed something unusual in the hallway closet. Behind a stack of boxes, there was a narrow wooden panel. It didn't look like it had been opened in a long time, but the edges were scratched, as if someone had been moving it recently. The officer slowly pulled it open. Behind it was a small hidden crawl space inside the wall. The officer shined his flashlight into the dark space. At first, he thought it was empty, but then he saw something that made him freeze. There was a small pile of blankets, some food wrappers, and empty water bottles. Someone had been living there, inside the walls of the house, for weeks, maybe longer. The officers carefully searched the crawl space. After a few minutes, they found him. A thin man hiding deeper inside the structure of the house. He was immediately taken into custody. The man turned out to be a drifter who had been moving from place to place for years. He had discovered the crawl space while the house was still empty before the Miller family moved in. And once they arrived, he stayed, quietly hiding in the walls, coming out at night to take food, listening, watching, waiting until everyone was asleep. Police later said he had likely been living there for several weeks, possibly even longer. But what shocked the family the most was something investigators discovered later. Inside the crawl space, they found a small opening that allowed the man to see into the hallway. A hidden gap between the wooden beams. From that spot, he could watch the house without anyone noticing. The idea that someone had been silently observing them for weeks left the family deeply shaken. The man was later charged with unlawful entry and burglary. Thankfully, no one in the family was physically harmed, but the emotional impact lasted much longer. The Millers eventually moved out of the house. They said they simply couldn't feel safe there anymore, even after the crawl space was sealed and the locks were changed. Because once you know someone was secretly living inside your walls, it's impossible to forget. To this day, local police still describe the case as one of the strangest incidents they had ever investigated. A quiet, suburban home, a hidden crawl space, and a man who lived inside the walls, watching everything. And the most unsettling question remains: how many other houses might still have secrets hidden inside their walls?